Have you guys ever been jealous of someone you think has it better than you? Maybe you guys applied for the same job, the other person gets the position, and you don't. Or maybe both of you have birthday parties and more people show up to theirs and not yours. It's a normal human emotion, envy. And while it is normal, it can become irrational and resentful incredibly fast. After a while, you start to convince yourself that maybe if this person wasn't around, I'll get a fair shot at things. But would you go so far as to kill them? Now, the case that we're going to be talking about today, I've seen a few people talk about it. I've seen a couple of crime shows that talk about this, but I've also seen other YouTubers talk about this. It's the case of Bernadette Prody. The year is 1984 in Orinda, California. Orinda is a small town. Recent census from 2020 counts only 19,000 residents currently living there. It's called the richest small town in California by many locals, with a median income of $250,000 a year. Oh my goodness. At the time, Bernadette Prody and Kirsten Costas were both 15, attending Miramonte High School. Now, the two were friends. There was never any animosity between them. Kirsten saw them as friends, but Bernadette felt a little bit more like they had more of a rivalry, which didn't even exist. Kirsten was always described as being outgoing and bubbly, but she was a good kid overall. She grew up in Orinda with her mother Barrett and her father Arthur. She also lived with her brother Peter. Everyone loved Kirsten in their small town. Neighbors and classmates alike talk about how bright of a person she was. She had the personality, she had the extrovertedness, she had the status with her family being wealthy, she had it all. Now let me tell you a little bit about the school that they went to. Miramonte High School is almost like the stereotypical schools we see in a lot of coming-of-age films. The popular crowd was invested in sports like swimming and cheerleading. They wore the latest styles, arrived to school in nice cars, and everyone wanted to be them. The interesting thing about Miramonte is the fact that they had a junior sorority group called the Bobolinks, or the Bobbies. If you were to get accepted into this prestigious club, you would not only be considered a Bobette, but you would also be at the top of the social ladder, especially in Orinda. It was a way to not only make friends in higher status, but it was a way to make new connections and get your foot in the door at parties, social events, and even professional ones. To become a part of the group, you have to be nominated by a former Bobby. And despite the fact that the process of becoming a Bobby was rigorous, it was easy to let you go from the club. The group itself was founded in being a philanthropic fundraising club, but it was really just a party and social circle. There was a very competitive atmosphere around them, which is kind of typical, or stereotypical, I should say. Funny enough, the bobolink is actually a bird. I don't know why their group is called that, but I just thought it was a fun fact. Bernadette Prody came from a modest middle-class family. Her parents, Elaine and Raymond Prody, were devoutly Catholic, always trying to instill positive values in both Bernadette and her sisters. She babysat for a family friend and other neighbors on her street, also being described as a sweet and caring person. Growing up, Bernadette had a happy, loving home, but I hate the notion that every kid that comes from a happy, loving home will have nothing negative affect them. While it can be true that kind people come from kind households, the opposite can be just as true. You can come from the best family ever, but if insecurity, if depression, if any of these things hit you, then it's not going to be enough for you. And for Bernadette, it was far from the truth. By the time Bernadette got to high school, she was very insecure, and a lot of it came from the fact that she went to a Catholic school before she enrolled in Miramonte. And it was such a culture shock seeing all of these more affluent, more beautiful, more popular kids walking around, again, with the latest styles. People are pulling up to school in Lamborghinis and Porsches. So, of course, she's gonna feel some type of way, because coming from very modest backgrounds into something that's exploding with culture and color, it'll make you feel left out. It'll make you feel othered. And it doesn't help that the Bobbies were some groups that were othering people. As time went on, resentment for these people began to grow, especially for her friend, Kirsten Costas. It was unfortunate that Bernadette couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because She was part of the swim team and she performed very well in the swim team, but also she was part of the Bobolinks, which is not an easy thing to get into. Like, you've got to know somebody that knows somebody to get into this club. You've got to be affluent, you've got to be wealthy. And Bernadette, coming from a modest middle class family, she had no way of getting in until somebody helped her get in. Now, who helped her get in? I don't know, because again, you have to be recommended to the group by a former Bobby. She was even assigned the role as secretary of the group. I'll keep this short and simple for you. Bernadette wanted to be Kirsten. She wanted to be close enough to Kirsten that maybe her popularity, maybe her wealth would rub off a bit on her. Now, despite Bernadette being accepted into the Bobolinks, she still felt snubbed by Kirsten in everything she attempted. Bernadette and Kirsten both tried out for cheerleading. Kirsten got accepted, Bernadette didn't. Bernadette and Kirsten also tried to sign up for the yearbook committee. Kirsten got accepted, Bernadette didn't. Bernadette was also taken aback by a lot of Kirsten's more offhanded comments, mainly about the old school gear that she had. They went onto a ski trip at one point, and Bernadette brought these old skis that she had that her father, it's like hand-me-downs from her father. And Kirsten made like this little comment that was like, oh, haha, whose skis are these? Like, it looks like they're ready for retirement. And Bernadette did not take that well at all, because who are you to judge me and the things that I have? Not everybody can be rich. And that's exactly what she said. Not everybody can be rich like you, Kirsten. But Kirsten said it was just a joke and that, you know, she shouldn't take offense to it. But when you come from a life of poverty, middle class, you know, anything like that, and again, you're around these more affluent people, you're gonna feel a little offended by their comments because you feel like they're picking a fight with you. Understandable. Feeling like she had been snubbed by Kirsten Costas twice, the resentment and anger just continued to build. And mind you, these are two 15, 16-year-olds fully hitting puberty now. I'm sure we all know how crazy teen years can be. All the hormones and your still developing brain can turn a slight rivalry into an all-out war. The thing is, like I said before, Bernadette felt this way. Kirsten was none the wiser, and Bernadette was determined to get to the bottom of this. She was constantly jealous of Kirsten's happy, bubbly personality and her charming nature. A few days prior to June 23rd, 1984, while Kirsten was away at cheerleading camp, her mother got a surprise phone call from someone who was part of the Bobolinks. When her mother answered the phone, it was Bernadette. Like, she didn't know it was Bernadette, but it was Bernadette. When her mother answered the phone, Bernadette had told her that Kirsten had been invited to a surprise initiation dinner for the Bobbies and that someone would pick her up in the evening that Saturday, June 23rd. Everything went downhill super fast the night of the 23rd. Coming to pick Kirsten up was Bernadette, and spoiler alert, there was no initiation dinner. Kirsten was fine getting to the car with Bernadette. She didn't think anything was wrong. They both are part of the Bobbies, and she still thinks that this dinner is going to happen. After driving for a bit and pulling into an unfamiliar neighborhood, which would be identified as Moraga, California, another small town not far at all from Orinda, maybe 2 or 3 miles, it wasn't long before they started arguing. It's about 9:30 p.m., and Bernadette was pleading to be closer friends with Kirsten. It was pretty desperate, and feeling uncomfortable, Kirsten gets out of the car. Which is understandable. Like, you lied to me, you told me about this fake dinner, you drove me around, I'm now in an unfamiliar neighborhood, and now you're groveling to me? That's kind of crazy. She runs to one of the homes in the neighborhood, knocking on their door and asking the occupants, Alex and Mary Jane Arnold, to use their phone to call her mother to come pick her up because her friend has gone weird on her and she wants to go home. Only issue is that both of her parents were out attending her younger brother's baseball team tournament, I believe. Either it was a match or it was a tournament. Either way, both of her parents were out at that time. Thankfully, Alex offered to give Kirsten a ride home, which she graciously accepted. Alex will later say that while he drove Kirsten home, there seemed to be a car following not too far behind. Arriving back to Kirsten's home, Alex decided that he would stay and watch for Kirsten to get to her place, get inside the door, and just be safe overall. Now, what they didn't notice was that Bernadette was the one that was following their car, not that far behind. As Kirsten got to her door, before she could even open it, someone sprinted from the bushes and attacked her. Now, when Alex saw this, he originally thought that it was a fist fight, and he started yelling and honking his horn for the person that just attacked Kirsten to stop doing what they were doing. The person ran off away from the scene and hopped into a car and drove off. As the assailant drove away, Alex decided that he would go after the assailant, because you're not gonna commit some crime like that and get away from me. No buddy, no sir. But in the midst of the chase, he realized that he should go back and check on Kirsten because he doesn't know how she's doing. By the time he got there, another one of Kirsten's neighbors had heard the scream of them fighting and was currently holding a dying Kirsten in his arms. After calling the police and them arriving on the scene, Kirsten would be taken to the nearest hospital, but unfortunately she would die in the ambulance. She suffered 9 puncture wounds, some of them attacking her carotid artery and her lungs. Editor Eve here, sorry about that. I forgot to mention that Bernadette kept a kitchen knife in her car, like just a regular kitchen knife that she brought from home. And it's later found out that she was stabbing Kirsten. I mean, based on the puncture wounds, she had been stabbing Kirsten, not fighting her with her fist. That's all I wanted to say. Back to the video. She was declared deceased by 10 p.m. To this day, I cannot imagine the thoughts and the feelings that led up to this event, but what I can tell you is that if Kirsten believed that Bernadette was already acting weird, then she was acting completely strange over the next 6 months while the investigation was going on. Times where Kirsten's death would be brought up, Bernadette was always silent and never added anything to the conversation. She was stone-faced during a lot of her interactions, and people felt like she had been acting weird and fidgety in class. Rightfully so, the town was afraid. Nothing like this had happened in that area, and now they don't know who to trust. Many people had been interviewed and labeled as suspects during the 6-month-long investigation after Kirsten's death, from gothic, alternative kids, down to even the Bobbies themselves. It's crazy because while all of this is going on, everyone knew that it was another teenager who killed Kirsten, but some people believe that Bernadette may be behind this or knows more than she's letting on, just from the way she was acting and responding. Everything broke down by December of '84. The guilt and the pain of what she had caused, followed by the lie detector test she had taken, brought Bernadette to write a confession in a note labeled to be read by her mom and dad. She told them to wait for 30 minutes or so before they read it, and she left the home not that long after. Detectives learned that not only had Bernadette used her father's car for this crime, but that she lied to her parents that she had a babysitting job the night that she committed the murder. It wasn't long before Bernadette was on trial for the murder. She claimed that Kirsten would tell them that she was weird and that she was afraid if things went differently, Kirsten would tell them about the night in question. Bernadette Prody was convicted of first-degree murder, but had her charge lessened to second-degree murder after taking a plea deal. She was given 9 years prison sentence because she was still a minor at the time of the murder, but she only served 7. And now she's a free woman. Apparently there had been sightings of her in other states trying to become a teacher. We don't know how that's going to turn out for her, but if you ever come across her, she has a different alias now. I'm just warning you, be safe. Hey y'all. So I'm sorry that I've been gone for like the longest time. I know, boo boo, tomato tomato. I'm not gonna get into the wah about, you know, what's been going on or whatever, but I know this is a little bit of a shorter video. I've been trying to not have them as long as the first video was, but if you want more like deep dive videos where they are more than an hour, let me know. But if you do prefer these shorter cases, these shorter, you know, videos that I've been making, I would appreciate if you still let me know if you liked it or whatever. Also, I tried to go for an 80s kind of vibe because the case takes place in the 80s. I was born 97. I know nothing about the 80s, but the color scheme, I feel like, you know, it kind of works. It kind of works. Plus, it took me forever to get this in a top ponytail. I cannot tease hair for anything. But you know what I can tease? The next episode. Let me not do that. I want to be more consistent with my posts and with my uploads because I have a lot of stories that I want to tell. But I also want this channel to be sort of a precaution of like, you may notice the signs of some people in your life that reflect the signs that we see in these cases. I'm not saying that everyone's a killer, but just in case you need to pull up your red flags and say, hey, something's not right here, because even if they're not murderers, they can still harm you. And I want people to be able to notice these signs and take from it what they will, but like also know to be careful, you know, like be safe. That's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please give it a like, a comment, and maybe subscribe if you feel like it. I'm not gonna force you to, like, I'm not your parent. But I hope you have a good day, and I hopefully will be back next week. Bye.